After telling me I was a worthless burden they regretted keeping, my parents called to boast about their real children, the ones who truly matter. Then my father insisted, "You owe us $4,000 for the renovations. It's the least you can do after all we've sacrificed." When I asked, "What exactly did you sacrifice for me?" he replied, "We didn't throw you out. That was our biggest mistake." I took a deep breath and said, "Then consider this my final thank you." That night, I made the decision I'd been avoiding for years. Now they're calling me continuously. "Your mother can't sleep from crying. Please just talk to us. We were angry. We didn't mean it." I'm not sure how to kick this off without sounding crazy, but whatever. I'm not looking for sympathy. I just need to express this. Maybe someone out there has faced something similar. If not, at least it's off my chest. Now, so my parents sent me an invoice for $4,000 for renovations. And that's not even the worst part. The strange part was how normal the call started. My dad just called me on a Tuesday night saying, "Hey, do you have a minute?" I replied, "Sure." Then he went on about how they finally finished the kitchen remodel and the new flooring in the basement. I was surprised and said, "Oh, cool. I didn't even know you guys were doing that." He reminded me, "We mentioned it last Christmas." Maybe they did, but I honestly don't remember. I was barely home that day. I never stay long anymore. Then he casually began discussing the costs, mentioning how the contractor raised the price in the middle of the project and how they had to replace some damaged drywall. That's when he said, "So, we figured you'd help. Out." After all we've done for you, I thought he was joking. I actually laughed and asked, "What?" He repeated it, adding, "We figured $4,000 is reasonable. That's not even half. You're an adult now. It's the least you can do." I fell silent, shocked. Then he said something I'll never forget. "Your siblings have always been there for us. They're the real children, the ones who matter." I asked, "Are you serious right now?" He kept going, saying they made so many sacrifices to keep me under their roof, and I should be thankful they didn't kick me out at 18 like they should have. That's when I snapped. I asked, "What exactly did you sacrifice for me?" Without a moment's pause, he said, "Not throwing you out was the sacrifice," as if not abandoning me was some huge favor. Let me backtrack a bit to explain. I'm the oldest of 3. I have a younger brother, Franklin, who's 24, and a sister, Allison, who's 21. They both still live at home and had their college fully paid for, along with cars given to them and rooms renovated last year. I moved out at 19 and was told if I wanted to be independent, I could pay rent somewhere else. They didn't offer anything. No help, not even a dime, not even assistance with moving. I was working 2 jobs at that time and couch surfing until I found a place. But I still visited, still called, still showed up for birthdays, and helped when issues arose at home. I unclogged their sump pump last spring, fixed the leaking faucet in their bathroom, helped Franklin move a couch into the basement, and picked up groceries for my mom when she had surgery. I never asked for anything. Not once. But according to them, they sacrificed so much. And now, because they renovated the basement, which was for Franklin's man cave or whatever he calls it, they decided I should pay for it. After calling me a burden and saying they regretted keeping me, I didn't even yell or cry. I just went quiet and said, "Then consider this my final thank you," and hung up. I sat there for about 10 minutes, staring at the wall. I think I realized in that moment that something inside me snapped, like something I'd been holding together for years finally broke. I didn't tell anyone at first, not my friends, not my girlfriend. I just kept it to myself, but 2 days later, I received an email with the subject line, "Outstanding balance." It was from my mom's Gmail, a literal PDF invoice. No joke, like some Microsoft Word template with kitchen renovation shared family. Expense at the top. $4,000 due in 30 days. I stared at it for a long time and then forwarded it to myself just to have a backup. I don't know why. That night, I called my girlfriend and told her everything. She didn't even know half of it, none of the favoritism or how they treated me growing up. She just listened and then said, "You don't have to do anything. You don't owe them anything." She was right, but it didn't feel like enough. I wasn't just going to ignore this, not after that call or after what he said about kicking. me out. So, I didn't pay it, obviously. Instead, I called my brother. I asked him if he knew about the renovations. He said, yeah, he had been picking out flooring with Dad. I asked if he was paying for it. He said, nah, they said they were covering it as a gift. I told him they sent me a bill, and he went quiet. Then he said, wait, what? I explained the amount and the conversation. He didn't say anything for about 10 seconds before saying, damn, man. He didn't defend them, but didn't offer anything either, just said, that's messed up, and he'd talk to them. I told him not to. I didn't want some half-hearted apology out of guilt. A week later, I got a text from my dad saying he was waiting on that payment. I didn't reply. A few days after that, my girlfriend and I had dinner with her cousin and her husband. It was a normal night, but when I opened my email to show him something, the invoice popped up again, just sitting there in my inbox. Something about it triggered me. That night, I opened a blank document and started typing. Not a reply, not a payment, just a list. A list of everything I'd ever paid for. Done for them, fixed for them, driven for them, and bought for them. Every single thing since I was 19. It was long. At the bottom, I typed, balance owed 0. Don't contact me again. I haven't sent it yet, but I saved it. I'm not finished because they genuinely thought they could guilt me into paying for Franklin's TV room and act like it was my debt. They thought I'd just accept it. I didn't say anything when they skipped my graduation, didn't come to my first apartment, or gave Franklin my old laptop while telling me to stop being dramatic when I asked about it. But this is where it stops. I'm not paying the invoice, I'm sending something else. And trust me, they won't like what's coming. Update 1. I didn't send the invoice back right away. I stared at it for about a week. Each time it popped up in my inbox, I felt that same heaviness in my chest. Not exactly anger, just something heavier. I realized I wasn't surprised. That's what really bothered me more than anything. They've always been like this. They just never voiced it out loud before. I didn't ghost them or go no contact. I didn't scream at them. I just became quiet and started paying attention. The first thing I did was call Carrie, my cousin on my mom's side. We mostly communicate through memes and stupid TikToks, but we've always been cool. She's one of the few family members who noticed how my parents treated me. I asked her if she remembered them mentioning the renovations. She said, yeah, they talked about it at church for months. Apparently it was a big deal. Like, we're finally giving Franklin a space of his own. They even showed pictures during one of those family nights where everyone brings snacks and judges each other's kids. I told her they billed me. Just stated it plainly like that. She went completely quiet before saying, wait, they billed you? I confirmed, yeah, $4,000. She said that was ridiculous. Then she said something that stuck with me. They always act differently when you're not around. That thought lingered in my mind all week. I started doing the math, not just financially, but how they always dragged me back in whenever I tried to pull away. Guilt, shame, a weird sense of obligation. Sending that invoice wasn't just about the money, it was about power, control. They wanted me to ask why, to plead for an explanation, to argue, to fight. But I didn't. My silence must have annoyed them because a few days later, my mom called. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail saying we need to discuss my responsibilities to this family. Not a how are you or can we talk, just straight to the guilt trip. I didn't reply. Instead, I texted Franklin and asked if he was free that weekend. He said, yeah, why? I said I wanted to meet up. Not at the house, just him. We met in a strip mall parking lot. Classy, I know. I parked next to him and got into his car. He looked nervous. I assured him I wasn't mad. I just wanted to ask him something serious. I said, when I moved out, what did they tell you? He hesitated before saying they told him I wanted to leave, that I didn't want to be part of the family anymore, that I thought I was better than them. I asked if he believed it, and he said, I didn't know what to think. You never said goodbye. I told him I wasn't allowed to say goodbye. When I told them I was getting a place, my dad called me ungrateful, and my mom said, don't come crawling back when it gets hard. He just stared at the steering wheel. Then he asked, so why are you here? I said, because they involved you in this, and I need you to know I'm not paying that invoice and I'm done playing this game. He didn't argue, just nodded. I asked him one last question. Do you think they'd ever do this to you? He didn't answer. I got out of the car, and that was the last time we spoke. Now here's where things started to shift. I didn't go on a rampage, but I stopped holding back. I took that invoice and forwarded it to my Aunt Mary. She's my dad's sister, nosy but very image conscious. She lives for being the good. Christian family. I didn't say anything dramatic, just typed, "Not sure if you knew about this." She responded within an hour, expressing her shock. Then I sent it to my mom's church group. Not the entire church, just their little group chat. I'd never posted there before, but I dropped the invoice in with a short note since this apparently involves me financially. I left the group right after. 3 hours later, my mom called me 6 times in a row and then messaged, "What the hell are you doing?" Followed by, "You're embarrassing us." I didn't answer. The next day, Franklin texted me, saying, "They're freaking out." Good, but I wasn't finished. I remembered something my dad made me do a year ago, sign a document for the house. He said it was just a formality for refinancing. I didn't think much of it then, but now I did. So, I called the bank. They listed me as a financial backup on some paperwork. Not a co-signer, not legally bound, but enough to imply I was involved. I asked them to remove it. They said they needed a written statement and ID, which I sent the next day. Then I sent a copy of that to my parents. Still no reply. So I wrote up my own invoice. Same format as theirs, but mine was itemized. Rides I gave them, repairs I did, groceries I bought, all that. I added a line at the bottom, emotional damages, priceless. I printed it, mailed it to their house with a sticky note that said, "You started this." I have no idea if they got it, but I'm guessing they did because the next week, my dad tried to call me during work hours, which he never does. He left a voicemail saying, "We need to discuss your behavior." Then my mom texted, "Your father is furious. This isn't how family solves things." I didn't answer. That Saturday, Carrie called me. She said she'd been at a family gathering. Apparently my mom tried to spin it, claiming I lashed out for no reason. But when Carrie asked what the fight was about, my mom wouldn't say. So Carrie told everyone, "Read the invoice out loud." My Aunt Rita was so shocked, she slapped the table, asking if they really charged me $4,000 for the basement. My mom left the room. So yeah, the cracks are starting to show, and honestly, I'm just getting started. Update 2, this part begins with a Facebook post. I know it sounds cheesy, but it wasn't about fishing for sympathy. I was just tired of everyone pretending. This was normal. I was fed up with them controlling the narrative while I sat quietly. I didn't tag anyone, just posted a screenshot of the invoice. I blurred some details but left the total clear. My caption was short. "Got this from my parents last month. Apparently, I owe them for my brother's basement remodel." Wild. I posted it and logged off, not checking for hours. When I returned, there were about 80 comments, half from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Some cousins, a few old neighbors. Even Rita, my aunt, who never liked me, commented, "This can't be real." Carrie messaged me, saying my mom called her in tears, not saying sorry, not clarifying anything, just upset that I aired family business online. This is funny considering how many times they dragged me through things in front of others, but whatever. They wanted it public? Fine. Next step was the spreadsheet. I stayed up late creating it, going through bank statements, texts, and photos. Every time I bought groceries, every oil change I paid for, every time I skipped plans to help them fix something, I didn't round anything. I included actual numbers. $38.92 for groceries, $76.50 for a plumber I paid up front, $20 for a prescription my mom forgot her wallet for. I even noted gas money for driving Franklin to job interviews when he didn't have a license. When I totaled it up, it came to $4,170, more than their invoice. I printed it and mailed it in a plain envelope, just the sheet labeled reimbursement request. 2 days later, my dad called but didn't leave a message, just rang 3 times, then again, then again. I didn't pick up. The next text I received was, "We're not doing this with you?" Midweek, I met with Aunt Mary. She's the only one who talks to both sides. She offered to meet for dinner. Not exactly neutral, but not hostile either. She tried to be nice, saying they're just old-fashioned and don't know how to express themselves. I told her straight out, If they want to play the "you owe us" game, they better be ready to lose. I never asked to be born. They chose to keep me and raised me while reminding me every chance they got that I was a problem. Now they want payback? She suggested I should talk to Franklin. I said, Franklin already got what he wanted. He got the basement, the car, and all the praise. I got an invite. Then I received a text from my mom saying, "Your father is under stress. You're making things worse." I didn't respond. She sent another message. "You're being cruel." That one hit differently because I wasn't even mad anymore. Just methodical. This was business now. They opened this door, not me. Then I got a call from an unknown number. Local. Area code. I picked up, thinking it might be work. It was Franklin. He sounded strange. Not angry, just tired. He said, "They told me you're trying to sue them." I replied, "I never said that." He asked why I posted the invoice. I asked him if he paid for any of the basement work. He said, "No." I said, "Then why are you mad at me?" He didn't respond. I told him to look at the invoice again, read the line that says shared family expense, and think about why the only person paying anything is the one they treat like trash. He said he didn't want to be caught in the middle. I replied, "You're not. You're just on the side that benefits." He hung up. A few days later, I received another email from my dad. The subject line read, "Let's resolve this." The email was a wall of text. No greeting, no apology, just a list of things they did for me. How they let me stay rent-free. How they paid for food when I was a child. How they never called the cops even when they wanted to. That last part made me pause because I had no idea what that was supposed to mean. Then he said something like, "If you keep escalating this, we will have to reconsider our legal options." That's when I stopped being silent. I printed out the email, took it to a notary, didn't need to, but I wanted it formal. I attached it to a written statement saying, I have no financial obligation to them, nor did I ever agree to repay any personal or household expenses. I included the spreadsheet of my own contributions, clearly labeled. Then I sent a copy to them and another to their HOA board. Why the HOA board? Because their neighbor is the treasurer, and I know for a fact they've been struggling with late dues. One of the lines in my dad's email mentioned how they've been juggling house payments, so I thought they should know where their money's going. The last thing I did was go to their church. Not during service, but during one of those weekday community events. I saw a few familiar faces, didn't make a scene, just handed out copies of the invoice. No speech, no drama, just said, "This is how they treat their son," and walked out. Now they're blowing up my phone. Texts, calls, voicemails, saying things like, "Your mother can't sleep from the tears. Please just talk to us. We were angry. We didn't mean it." But they did. They meant every word when they called me a burden. They meant it when they said I owed them. They meant it when they laughed about the real children. They just didn't expect me to fight back. Final update. So, it all ended with an email, but not before a lot of other stuff made it clear this was never about money. It was about control, image, ego, all the things they've always prioritized, over being decent parents. Earlier this week, Franklin texted me, "You really did all that?" I replied, "Yep." No more explanations. No more softening the blows for people who threw the first punch. He didn't reply. Later that night, I received a barrage of missed calls. First Dad, then Mom again, then Franklin. My mom left a long voicemail, 3 minutes of pure guilt, saying she hadn't slept in days, that I was tearing the family apart, that my dad wasn't himself, and that it seemed like I was trying to ruin their lives. I played it once and then deleted it. I already knew what they would say. I've heard it all before. The only difference now is that I don't care anymore. So, I wrote one final email. Not dramatic or bitter, just real. I laid it all out. Not feelings, not childhood trauma, just facts. I said they billed me for something they gifted to Franklin. I told them they insulted me, devalued me, and sent that invoice as a power move. I stated I have no legal or moral obligation to them. I included documentation of every contribution I made to their household since I turned 19, attached the notarized statement revoking any perceived financial ties, and included the spreadsheet. Again with the final line reading, balance owed, 0. The kicker? I blind copied their pastor, the HOA board, and 2 family members from each side, including Rita, because if they want to play the shame game, I'm not the one who should be embarrassed. I hit send at 11:56 p.m. I didn't even wait to see if they read it. I shut my laptop, turned off my phone, and just laid down. For the first time in years, I actually felt done. Not anxious, not guilty, not replaying conversations in my head. Just done. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. I had 1 missed call from Dad, 3 texts from Mom, and 1 from Franklin. You didn't have to drag it out like this. That was the first time I laughed during this whole ordeal. Drag it out? They dragged it out for 2 decades. They dragged it out every time they gave Franklin a pass while lecturing me for the same things. They dragged it out when they skipped my graduation, didn't come to my first apartment, and when they gifted Franklin my old laptop while telling me to stop being dramatic when I asked about it. But no, I didn't drag anything. I ended it. Carrie texted me later that week, saying she heard from Rita that the email caused quite a stir. Apparently, my parents skipped church that Sunday, which is significant because they never miss a chance to show face. She said, "Good for you." I replied, "Thanks." That was it. The rest of the family has mostly gone quiet. A few cousins liked the post. No one's asked me to take it down or tried to mediate, which honestly surprised me. But maybe everyone is just tired of pretending too. I haven't blocked them, not because I want to hear from them, but because silence is louder. They've called a few more times since, usually late at night, sometimes back to back. Mom left another voicemail, and Dad tried texting something about how families shouldn't air dirty laundry. I didn't respond. I'm not playing their game anymore, and I know how this will end. They'll either rewrite the story to make me the villain or pretend it never happened. That's what they do. But either way, I'm not a part of it. So, yeah, I pressed send and then slept like a baby. No guilt, no second thoughts, no wondering if I was too harsh. They said not throwing. Me out was their biggest mistake. Well, I fixed that for them.